Well, baby, you've been on my mind. I think about you all the time. Oh, I want to see your face. That don't make me wait.
Welcome back to Sleeping Around the Podcast. We are in Austin, Texas.
We are in Austin, Texas.
I mean, it's like deja vu. So,
Is it like we were here before?
Yeah, but meaning like, so when we started the podcast, Brandon and I, and we're thinking, we want to do it. We're working out of this room, out of one of his duplexes. Obviously, we had Handsome Dan, and I just kind of had this vision. I never thought that I would come back to Austin, Texas.
And Brandon would look like this.
And I would have you as my co-host. Dr. Ann Morse we met, I'll share this with our guest. We met a little over a year ago in North Carolina at a sleep conference. Mm-hmm. And how I met her, I didn't even know what she looked like. Mm-hmm. I swear, this is the God's honest truth. Where my booth was for SomnoMed was adjacent to a Jazz Pharmaceutical. Mm-hmm. And I just heard this woman speak, and she had this awesome accent and this energy. And when I walked around, I tell this story often. I didn't believe it. You had this hot pink skirt on, by the way, and these butterfly shoes, and I was like, that's the neurologist? Like, that's who's speaking.
Well, it wasn't the butterfly shoes that night. That was when we met at another
the bar.
time.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yep. I had on, actually, they were more like a leopard because they were one of my favorite Jimmy Choos.
Amazing.
Right. So
oh my gosh.
I meet her. I go, I got to meet this person because her energy and our guest knows me. I'm energy. I'm positive.
It's because we prioritize sleep.
I came up and introduced myself to you. And so to think where this has gone I'm just so blessed. So, and thank you for being really the heart and soul of the podcast now, and flying you and your husband. They flew all the way down from Philadelphia or I should say Pennsylvania, and you're.
Mm-hmm. We did fly out of Philadelphia, so you weren't inaccurate. We just don't live there.
Right. Well, do you want me to give everybody your address? But no, I really appreciate you.
I appreciate being
here. And I love
here.
working with you.
This is fun. And you know what? The best part is you're taking me out of my creature comforts, because generally when I'm talking about sleep, I generally only invited to, because people don't like to invite me places. I talk too much. But they only invite me to medical conferences.
Right.
And so I don't usually get the opportunity or excitement to be able to meet people like our guest today. Where I mean, talk about an amazing voice, an amazing talent.
Yes.
Just obviously a beautiful woman, right?
Yes.
I am incredibly excited because not only are we going to talk about your music, but we're going to dig into some sleep.
Cool.
About being a musician. Does your music have any kind of influence from sleep? I can tell you I've listened to your music. It's awesome. And all I kept thinking, I'm like, these are stories that I hear patients tell me as to why they're not sleeping.
That's right.
So it's awesome.
So everybody who is listening and everybody who's watching, this is Julianna Rankin.
Hi.
I would like to say this is my friend.
Yes.
It's your sleep friend, because we're all sleep friends
We're all sleep
here.
friends.
We all
We're
are
all
all sleep friends.
Yes.
We're just keeping it between sleep friends.
I'm wearing a Mile Zero shirt that I swear I'm really buff now, or it has shrank. Because I met Julianna in Key West. Everybody knows I talk about Key West, Mile Zero Fest all the time. But how we met is so unique that I want to share with our audience. I'm blessed that I have friends all over the country. I've shared that many times. One of my friends has a yacht and a beautiful boat, and they're beautiful people. And the one thing they ask from me is, when I'm in Key West, can I bring artists to play after the shows on the yacht? And everybody picks up a guitar and they go around and they sing, and we drink and we laugh and we cry, And so this last Mile Zero Fest, my great friend, John Goolsby, who's been on the podcast, brought Julianna Rankin into my life.
So you're forever indebted to him.
Oh, yep. Forever. In fact, I text them today. I'm like, you have no idea.
Thanks,
and I've been trying to get you on the podcast for so long. So this is like where two awesome worlds meet. We have yet to have a musician on the new podcast with Dr. M.
Yes.
And I am honored to have you on. When I heard her strike her first chord and sing, usually the yacht's pretty much a rockin'. We're drinking. We have everybody from fiddle players to harmonica. We have it all. You could hear a pin drop. And when we get into her story about how little, meaning how long she's been doing this, you'll even be more amazed. And then we'll hear a couple songs. But
I can't wait.
Julianna, thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank y'all for having me. I'm excited to be the first musician on the new edition. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
you're going
Yeah.
to set a very, very high
Perfect.
bar for
Perfect.
people
No
coming
pressure.
after.
How about
Yeah,
that?
The
exactly.
choice of guests is already.
So there is such a celebration today. And even though when this podcast will be released, Julianna, give them the big news that happened yesterday. We
Yeah.
can't say the date, right, Dan? Am I doing that correct? What's the big news?
Yeah. So
Although I'm sure someone could Google it.
right, it's on my Instagram. But yesterday I dropped my very first single out into the ether, out in the world on all streaming platforms.
Awesome.
It's out to national country radio today, and it was a crazy day yesterday. Just speaking of sleep, when I stayed up until midnight for the release. I told my manager, I was like, I don't think I'll be able to sleep until I know it's out there. Like nothing
Sure.
has gone wrong, even though I had an amazing team behind me that did it all for me. I didn't have to touch anything. And so that was very nice. But as soon as it was out, that was the best night of sleep I had had in months.
I'm sure.
Oh my gosh,
I'm
it
sure.
was such a weight lifted, just like, oh my God, I can finally say I have music out. Because that's been one thing that I've hated telling people at shows, like, where can we find your music? I'm like, well, nowhere
It's
yet.
coming.
It's coming. I promise. I know I've been saying that for years, but no, I really mean it. So
Yep.
it's out. And I woke up to 4,000 streams this morning.
Awesome.
So,
And what's it called?
It's called New Money.
Awesome.
My
New Money.
goodness. What
It's
a great title of a song.
Yeah. And you know what? I loved listening to it because I do love country music.
Yeah.
And so I was sharing
She
with
does.
Matt
She
earlier. I said when I heard it, the first song that came into my head was actually Fancy. Like, and
Thank you.
and
Reba,
I was-
that's a
yeah.
high bar.
yeah,
right
but that was the first song. I swear to you, it was the first thing
Yeah.
that came into my head, and I just said, you know what? This is just like very. It hit me. Like it hit me because there is this change that occurs for people when there is the opportunity for
Yeah.
a change in life,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And just like you were saying that you didn't sleep the night before something big,
Yeah.
these types of things, I always am thinking of like, what experiences have I had and where does sleep interfere or better or worse, etc. And I think about the people who they struggle with money issues.
Yeah.
And so what I'm hearing,
Amen.
yeah,
We're talking
and-
to a
Word.
musician.
right? And then when you're talking
living
about
it.
the person who they struggle with money issues, new money,
Yeah.
you now are going to start sleeping soundly. And so
Right.
I hope you that same course.
Yeah, that's so funny because this song, thinking back on, because most of the time I write a song and then a lot of times I just forget kind of how it all developed, and then now that I have time to sit and think about it and talk about it here and have it has unfolded, I think about how, yes, at the time and still am stressed about money as any musician is.
Sure.
Because this is not a money-making business and people don't buy music anymore. It's very stressful thinking about money. And the idea actually came from my grandmother. So she has always, since we were little kids, talked about, there's a lot of her, she's from South Texas. My family's from Carrizo Springs. And so oil country.
Sure.
And so there's a lot of talk about new money versus old money and, things about that. And thinking of people who've come into oil money and how that's new money. And that kind of kickstarted it. And then the second verse goes a different direction.
It does. So, let's back up a little bit because I know so much about you. Number one, I didn't know you were a blonde.
Yeah, that's new.
So when this,
Natural,
Yeah,
obviously.
clearly.
so when I met Julianna, she was a brunette. Everybody knows how much I love brunettes. I also love blondes. But when I saw her post on one of your stories, I went, well, I guess we're having a blonde on.
Yeah.
The new
Just
version.
thought I'd change it up on you.
No, I love it. Actually, you
It's
look
beautiful.
great.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
So your story is awesome. And I actually, I kind of was, whenever I go to Key West, because I don't sing, I don't play an instrument, I kind of organize, kind of like what I do in my business. I'm able to
You're
get
just a
the-
connector
I am.
everywhere.
Period.
You just connect.
Period.
Yeah.
Period. But I made her tell stories. I would ask her questions. You could tell she was like, really? But hearing your story is amazing because you always haven't been a musician. I mean, this is a very educated, and in the state of Texas, not Austin, but in the state of Texas, she went to a very amazing school. kind of walk us through in our audience, and especially Dr. Ann, kind of how you got into music and not, I don't want you to fast forward, but when it kind of started for you, because I love that story.
Yeah, it's definitely not your typical story. It was, I was a senior at A&M, had full intentions, plans of going to law school. And about 6 months before I graduated, I was only taking like 2 classes. And so I had all this free time, and I was going out on T-shirt Tuesday in College Station because I went to A&M, and we would go to this karaoke bar, and on Wednesdays and Tuesdays there were 2 different bars we would go to, and I just loved singing karaoke. And so, I would become a regular, and people would say, "Oh, I didn't know you could sing." Like certain, your distant friends were like, "We didn't know you sang," and I was like, I can't sing. Like, I mean, I can carry a tune, but I just didn't think anything of it. I knew I loved music. I have a musical family, but I never thought that was something I could actually do. And then kind of fast forward a few months later, I decided to pick up and play guitar because someone asked if I could play anywhere else, like if I was an actual musician, and I said no. And I was like, well, we have a guitar at home. Maybe I'll try. And so I went home, brought it back to College Station, and I picked it up within, about a month. And it was a very fast transition because as soon as I started playing the guitar, I just couldn't stop. I told him earlier, I was like, I picked it up and, I would get home from class and then play for 4 or 5 hours a day.
Oh, wow.
And I started posting videos on Facebook and Instagram, and I look back and at some of the quality of those videos, but everybody's got to start somewhere, I guess.
Amen.
But
Amen.
yeah, it kind of started that way. And then I started working for a company out of San Antonio. And then I got asked to come back to College Station and play this little Cinco de Mayo festival with Colby Cooper and Dylan Wheeler when those guys were first starting out. And we played it at the Tap in College Station. And I forget who else was. Oh, Cody West was on that festival too. And I just, ever since that happened, I just never stopped. And
wow,
here I am. Yeah.
Wow.
When
So
did
finished
you-
college.
Yep. Graduated.
And then have just been on the.
Yeah.
No, she had a career. She was
Yeah.
working in San Antonio.
Yeah. I was working in San Antonio for a staffing agency.
Oh, wow.
And, oof. I loved my coworkers, but oh my God, I was horrible at that job. So then COVID hit. Honestly, I mean, I worked there for a year and COVID hit, and I was right when COVID hit, my lease ended in my apartment. And so I just moved in with my parents for all of COVID, and I was writing nonstop. And so as soon as we could go back out and play, I had all these new songs that I could start playing for people.
Awesome.
Moved to New Braunfels and met that whole family there. Met Bree Bagwell, one of my best friends, and whole group of people.
We love Bree.
Yeah, we love Bree. Yeah. And yeah, it's opened so many doors for me over the past couple of years. I'm going on 2.5 years now in New Braunfels, which is
And remember,
crazy.
we're in 2023 when we're shooting this.
Yeah.
So the fact that you literally, and it frustrates me, I'll just tell you as your friend. And Dan, I know it frustrates Dan because Dan's equally as talented as you, but she goes, so I had a guitar at home and I started playing and I pretty much got it down. And then I just started playing every night and then writing songs. But it sounds to me like whatever power, your calling has always been to be an artist.
Yeah.
And it was like you were trying to fit into this engineer business, like this mold of A&M, whatever college. Go get a job, do that.
Yeah.
But there was something that came out of you when you picked up that guitar.
definitely it was definitely there was a missing puzzle piece that I just couldn't find. And it was me, but I was just shaped a different way, and I was meant to go a different direction because I busted my butt getting the grades at A&M to go to law school, and it was hard. And then I was like, this is scary, but I don't want to do this anymore.
I talk about support systems a lot.
Yeah.
In my personal life, I have accountability partners, right? I have friendships. I have this group of people that kind of steer me in the right direction, and then I have my family, who I love. But when I would go to my family with things or ideas, and they would say, but I have that core group of supporters that would go, dude, you can do anything, put your mind to. Walk us through how that conversation went with your family, and then these believers that believed in you.
Honestly, they kind of pushed me towards chasing music.
Your family did.
Yeah.
I love that.
And so, because my dad, kind of grew up on a tour bus. My grandpa was in a band, a traveling band around Texas for years when my dad was a little kid. So he saw my grandpa do it, and then I think he also saw that in me. And so I started posting videos on Facebook, and I'll never forget, this was before I made the big decision. I would I would come home on the weekends sometimes and just sit there and play. I didn't even hang out with my family when I would go home, of course, but I would just play in my bathroom or in my room. And it was Mother's Day, and I sang a Lauren Elena song for my mom and just like recorded it on my phone. And I was like, I can't afford to buy Mom a present, so I just sang her this song. And I played it for my dad, and he was like, you should really do something with this. He was like, I know you want to go to law school, but you should really consider doing something with this. And this was the point where I was posting the crappy videos and things like that. Right. So they believed me at the earliest stage, which is really cool. And they're my biggest supporters. I'm going to be going on a radio tour in about a month, and my mom's going to go with me for the first leg. So they're my rock. So
I have to tell you, so my background, in addition to being a sleep medicine specialist, is I'm a child neurologist, right? So I take care of lots and lots of kids. And there's so many times when I see children, now adolescents, going into young adulthood, trying to navigate this journey and thinking they need to have it all figured out by the time they enter college, never mind by the time they end college, right? And exactly what you said earlier, Matt, of that there's this predetermined societal belief that this is what success looks like. And it's this box. And if you don't fit into that box, you're not going to be the measure of success that everyone will respect, right? Many times that does come from family pressures in addition to peer pressures. And to hear your journey that you're navigating as you finish college, obviously there's loans and everything else that comes along with that. And to have the judgment and then also the complete commitment and support, and never mind the recognition of this is who you are. It literally is giving me goosebumps. And for me, for people who are listening to this, whether you're a parent or you're a teenager or a college student who's trying to figure it out and thinking that I'm checking all these boxes, I'm high performing, my resume is 25 pages long, and thinking that's what you're going to be remembered for. The reality is that chase your passions, because success 100% will follow, and you'll never regret one day in your life. And so I'm so glad you had her share the story, because I love that story, and I think that's such a huge impact for many of the people who are probably listening.
When I met Julianna, I met her, like I said, through a good friend of mine, and he said, "You've never met anybody like this." I get that. A lot of the times people say, "Matt, I really need to introduce you to somebody. You've never met anybody like this." And not only is her journey so unique in the musicians, for our audience who's listened to the podcast, there always is a common bond of being an artist. And I'm jealous of that calling, but it also takes courage.
Yes.
And we don't talk enough about that with our artist friends. It took courage, because even though you had the support, which I'm sure 9 out of 10 musicians don't, right? But it still took you courage to take that step and to realize, this is my purpose. And this is what I'm meant to do. Grab that guitar and freaking go. And so I'm so glad that you're on here sharing, because there's going to be someone out there, believe it or not, people do listen to this podcast. And there's people out there, Julianna, that I know you've already touched, that have seen you sing and heard you and know your story. So I think that's so important. Not to totally pivot, but when you wrote your very first song that you knew, you kind of patted yourself on the back. I know we don't like to admit that, right? But there's times where I do. And I know there's people, Dan's done it, where when you wrote that song and you went, that's pretty good. How old were you, and when was that? I'm not supposed to ask a woman's age. When was that time frame?
It was, I believe it was 2019. Okay. I still had the job in San Antonio, and I was in my apartment, and I wrote this song that I really need to dust off and bring out of retirement, because I do love that song. And it's called She's a Woman. And it was kind of modeled after all the women in my life. And it's kind of like, you can't break her because she's a woman, whatever. Woman empowerment always. But yeah, that was the first one that I sent my parents. I was like, I think this one's good. Like, what do y'all think? Because I'd been writing crappy songs. And my dad was like, that's a damn good song, Anna. He was like, that's great. he was like, "You're gonna post that video, right?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know. Should I?"
I love how encouraging your father is.
Yeah,
Yes.
As a father who has a daughter,
Yeah.
right? I love that.
Yeah.
I dig that.
Yeah.
I really do. Do you have siblings?
I do. I have an older brother. Yes,
Okay.
he's also.
Is he extremely jealous of you, or let me guess, he's extremely handsome? Talented? No, go ahead.
He is very handsome. He's very sweet. He's. I mean, he's my best friend. I mean, he and I have been so close
love
for
this.
years, and he's very supportive. The other day when I kind of had some developments with the song, he was like, he called me and he was like, "Okay, now what does this mean? What does this mean? What does this mean? I want to understand all of it." And he's very invested. He and his wife both are,
That's
and
amazing.
yeah, we're all very close. But yeah, he's very excited and thrilled and very supportive. He came to my little single release party last night with all of his friends, and it was really cool. But,
Really? Because I didn't get an invite to this single. Dan, did you get an invite to a single
It
release
got
party?
lost in emails.
Oh, single
Yeah.
meaning like the song. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
I thought we were releasing the singles.
Yeah.
no one
Yeah.
wants that, Matt.
was-
No one wants that.
Let it rain. What was that? Dan's like, let it rain, the singles.
it was a speed dating themed release party. What a
Okay.
great marketing idea.
That is. That is.
It's right here.
Like, can you
It's
play a
just right here.
song?
Yeah.
Name that tune.
Yeah.
There you go. Sing these lyrics.
Yeah.
So you know me enough to know that I would invite you on this podcast for a couple reasons. I want to promote you to the nth degree, but I also love sleep.
Oh yeah.
And it's our shared passion.
Mm-hmm.
What's unique about our relationship is obviously I'm not a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
I know I play one on TV, but I'm not, and I'm just someone who tries to get the right people in the right room at the right time. What I think is an awesome opportunity right now is, besides being a woman, and I. And you know my feelings on that. I try to surround myself with as much women as possible. No joke. My mom taught me that y'all have a gift that we'll never have as men called intuition. And so any business decision that I've ever made as an adult, I have a right and left hand woman beside me to double check it. When it comes to sleep, you're sitting with somebody right now as talented as you are as a musician. She's equally as talented in those areas of sleep. And so, and this is her passion.
Yeah.
One of the issues that could come up, because you are just starting and you are an infant in music. I've been around these guys forever, right?
Yeah.
Grew up with Cross Canadian Ragweed. I grew up with, Randy, Mark Broussard. Your sleep's getting ready to be affected.
Oh, I know.
That's all I kept thinking when she's like, I couldn't sleep, and then it was the best sleep, and I'm like,
Yeah.
remember that. Remember how important how great you felt after that great night's sleep.
Because your hours are different. It's going to
Yeah.
be like Key West all
Yeah.
the time.
Definitely. Yeah. There's going to be a lot of adjusting for sure. So I'm kind of mentally preparing myself for that. And that's also one thing about me is sometimes when I'm sleeping my hardest, that's when I get really good song ideas. I leave a notepad by my bed because sometimes I'll wake up the next morning and will in my sleep have written down an idea that I had. I have a couple of songs like that. One of them that I wrote when I had COVID actually, and I was in like deep sleep and I was having like those fever dreams, and yeah, I definitely cherish my good nights of sleep.
Yeah.
Not only for the songs, but just for feeling good.
So I absolutely love what you've brought up, because this actually has been demonstrated in research that when we actually look at individuals when they cycle through different stages of sleep, there is different values of those stages of sleep. And what we've learned is that in REM sleep, the vivid dreaming, so your fever dreams, that actually is a period of time for creativity. And so one of the things that's fascinating, and you know this, is that an area of specialty for mine is the area of narcolepsy. And one of the things that we've learned about individuals with narcolepsy is they actually have been shown to be much more creative than people without narcolepsy because they have too much REM sleep. They go in and out of REM sleep all the time. And so the fact that you're describing that when you go to sleep and you wake up and you are having these really, really fabulous concepts is not unique in many musicians. In fact, Billy Joel, River of Dreams, he dreamt about that. I was thinking about it in the shower and was like, I can't write it. I can't write River of Dreams, because he was like, I'm not a religious man. I'm not a spiritual man.
Right.
And he just kept having this repeated like vision. And so I love the fact that you're sharing with people that sleep has values outside of waking up and feeling good.
Yeah.
It has values where it can nurture your creativity.
Right. Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, just the night and day difference, literally, of when I wake up after having like just a quality night's sleep. I mean, I am just 10 times more creative. I mean, everything's firing on all cylinders most of the time, but I know I'm not ready for that part to end.
Well, it doesn't have to. I'm like, please, no.
Are y'all going to give me some tips and tricks?
Yes, so that's why.
100%.
And a lot of people will go to a physician and they'll go, oh, they're going to put me on a medicine. They're going to put me on a device. No, there's cognitive behavioral things that I think would be, and again, this isn't a trick to get you in here, but that there's some hints and tricks and hacks that you can pre-do before you start this road. Julianna, I have no doubt you're going to make it.
Oh, thank you.
And whatever make it looks like. I'm being serious. I think you're on a tour. I think you're going to be gone a lot. I think there's going to be some whiskey. I think there's going to be some men in your life.
But don't use it for sleep.
I think
the men you can use for sleep.
I think there's going to be some men in your life. You know how I treat you and Bree. They're like my daughters. And I just think, so there's going to be these routines. And if we could be of help ahead of time, right?
100%.
Be
proactive, not reactive,
Yes,
right? And so
yes.
you're 100% correct, Matt, of that when we know, so we do these types of strategies all the time with athletes, we do it with students, of that we always want you to have as optimal sleep as possible.
Yeah.
The reality is, whose life has optimal sleep all the time?
Yeah.
I know I don't. I have 2 little kids at home. I'm busy with work, and then never mind trying to have some time for my husband, right? And so many times in society, what we end up doing is we say, we're going to try and get away with less sleep to get more done. You've already identified that is not a strategy that's good for you, right?
Nope.
It's going to compromise your creativity. It's going to compromise your success. So what can you do? You can be proactive in figuring out what does great look like, and then be able to figure out what are the strategies to get you the best sleep as possible. So maybe it's that on most nights when you don't have these other commitments, you are getting that great sleep. You're anticipating Saturday night. I know it's going to be hell breaks loose. I'm going to be up all night. I'm not going to bed until. Things you can do are, number 1, sleep banking. So prior to that, if you're normally sleeping 8 hours of sleep, try sleeping 8.5 hours of sleep. That little incremental add up is, if you think about it like you're collecting debt, savings,
Or
right?
saving money.
Savings help prevent you from going into debt, right? And so that's exactly what sleep banking is. The other thing you can do is, if you know today is going to be a night, I'm going to be up all day. I generally don't tell people take long naps, but what you can do is you can actually say, I know that my circadian rhythm is going to be flipped on its ear, right? And so I therefore need to be proactive with this. Some of the things that I would encourage for people who are going to regularly have some changes is to partner with a sleep psychologist. Why? Because they help you to really understand, dissect your behaviors and patterns to be able to react in real time to things that are going to keep you most protective.
That's
And
so
I think,
cool.
and you look at, and Tim McGraw is a perfect example of this, and he has been so vocal about this, exercise and diet. Even when he was at his worst, drinking so much and partying, it was his beautiful wife that came to him and said, listen, I don't mind you drinking. You can drink all you want, but you eat like crap and you don't exercise. How about you add in, if you're going to drink, make me a commitment that you'll exercise. And then that led to sleep. And so even if you're taking a brisk walk, you're getting vitamin D, you are meditating. That sleep banking is real, but it's also resting up. And then the last piece that I will share, and I always share with my musician friends because I know the scene, hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. You know, we're a lot like flowers and plants, man. We need sunlight and we need water. And the more you do that, you know, because you're on stage, your nerves are going, you're going to be sweating, you're going to be talking to people. Because one thing, Ann, and I'll share, and Julianna has already experienced this. I witnessed this at a gig I saw her here in Austin. It's not just performing. You have to perform. She is at the stage where she works merch, she's shaking hands, she's kissing babies. Then she performs.
Kissing men.
Then afterwards, then afterwards, she's doing the
Taking
same thing.
applications
She's,
for
I mean,
Julianna.
it's a process.
Yeah.
You don't have a crew that loads in, loads out
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
But you're doing everything. And so her day, although we say, man, musicians don't get to go on stage till 9 o'clock, she has started at 3.
Yeah.
And so it's, I can't say that enough, and I'd be remiss if, and Dan really challenged me on this, so I love you, brother. If I'm going to do this podcast, I'm going to have all my great friends on. Why not give them some sleep advice?
Yeah.
By the way, this is Sleeping Around the Podcast.
Yeah.
Yep.
I have one of the best sleep experts in the country who does this with me. Here's an opportunity.
Yeah.
And so I also like to save it if you have any questions, but I'm dying to hear you sing. Now, I have been with you in the same tiny space for too long now without you playing something.
Okay.
Now, I always like to say that it's ladies' choice because you're the singer, but please play something for me.
Okay. This one, I was seeing a guy, a little over a year ago, and I met him actually through my boss, and he works for an oil company, and his job title is he's a company man. And so, anyways, we had been texting for a little bit, and he jokingly said he was 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off in Midland. And so he was like, well, maybe by the time I come home, you'll have a song written about me. And I was like, oh, bet. I love a challenge. And, yeah. Yeah. But this is called Company Man. This is going to be on my EP that comes out in a few months. Company man, won't you come on home? I can't keep waiting for you by the telephone. It's been a long, hard 2 weeks without you by my side. You've been working 12-hour shifts, counting barrels of crude out on the rig. But don't you think it's time we spent a few nights alone? I know you got a job to do, but if you give me just a minute of your time or two, gonna make you see what you just can't understand. I'm like the desert waiting for the rain, and you're the top shelf drug to ease my pain. Got me begging on my knees for the touch of your hand. So won't you come on and keep me company, man? Babe, I'm leaving the porch light on, 'cause I've been burning for you for way too long. So won't you spend them old 4 weeks fast as you can? I know you got a job to do, but if you give me just a minute of your time or two, gonna make you see what you just can't understand. I'm like the desert waiting for the rain. You're the top shelf drug to ease my pain. Got me begging on my knees for the touch of your hand. So won't you come on home and keep me company, man? Yeah. You know you got a job to do, so won't you give me just a minute of your time or two? Gonna make you feel what you just can't understand. got me begging on my knees for the touch of your hand. So won't you come on home and keep me company, man? Won't you come on home and keep me company, man? Yeah. Won't you come on home and keep me company, man? Thank you. Thank you.
So good.
It's a fun one.
That honestly,
Could
like,
you imagine him? Am I back on, Dan? Could you imagine him coming home after 14 and 14 going, I'm really tired. She goes, watch this. And boom.
We know it's crazy. So I sent it to him, and then he was back, and we hadn't even met yet. We hadn't even met yet. Yeah, we hadn't even met.
oh
And
wow.
Young kids, man.
I know, right? We hadn't even met because as soon as he got my number, he was off for 2 weeks, and then he came back, and he was like, "Are you playing a show?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm playing at this place, whatever."
I hope you played it. And he
I
was
did.
there.
His entire family showed up. His mom.
How are y'all not married? Like, I literally been like, oh, what
Hilarious.
But that
yeah.
is, gosh.
Well, what was
Yeah.
his reaction? You can't leave us
He
in
loved
suspense.
it, and his
What do you
mom
think his
loved
reaction
it. It's
was?
hilarious.
And his
yeah.
mom and his dad are like, you better marry her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Oh
played
my
at
God.
Hanks and McKinney a few months ago, and he
Yeah.
came with one of his friends, and it
Oh.
was, yeah.
So y'all
So
are
we're
still
still friends. Yeah, we're still good friends. Yeah.
young, like Netflix and
Like,
chills?
No.
like sleep friends.
We're still friends. We're buds. Yeah, but yeah, that song has blossomed since then. Yeah,
Well, I will tell you, so that was the very first song I ever heard you play.
yeah.
And the next song I ever heard you play, I cried like a baby.
Oh yeah.
She's like, is he okay? They go, no, Matt always cries.
Because you have such a big heart.
No, this song is absolutely. And everybody's rocking, and my buddy sings a very inappropriate song about a cat,
Yes.
and
I'm not even gonna go there. There's so many.
I'd love to have Rob on here one day. Again, all my friends are ridiculously talented. Do you know what song I'm talking about?
I do. Yeah, you want me to play it?
Yes.
Okay.
Please. Thank you.
So this is.
I need to video this. I need to put it on social.
Go.
Sure.
Go.
This is just amazing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Crazy.
Thank you. Thank you.
But like, I did not make this. I mean, I could have said I did
Yeah.
from the song, but
I will
would've been the
say,
biggest compliment.
I will say, since we have a little intermission. So Holly Beth, another great friend of mine, an amazing singer,
Mm-hmm.
she had been on the podcast, and Brandon had given her some solid advice to do for the road. And I run into Holly all the time.
Yeah.
She is grind. They
Yeah,
got
I met her in
everywhere.
College Station because she would play around there all the time.
Little bitty Holly Beth, big voice.
She played that first festival I played in College Station.
That
Yeah.
same, she was at the same one at Tap.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, she said that's been the greatest advice, that it was sleep banking. Brandon might have called it something different, but like just, your gut, you
Yeah.
need to prepare.
Yeah.
Just like you prepare your voice, you prepare
Right.
your body. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't have Kleenex, but I'm
I
good.
know.
all right. Well, I need to video this because I am sharing it on my social
right.
media because this is
So,
amazing.
Dan, turn me off, please.
Yeah, this one has been kind of the song. My friends call it the song with wings because it's taken me a lot of places. It got me up on stages at Steamboat and got me noticed by a lot of people there, and Mile Zero Fest too. So this is called "Miss Me When I'm Gone." Washed all the dishes in the sink, sewed a few patches on your jeans, ironed all your shirts for the week so you didn't have to. Swept all the floors and made our bed so you'd have a safe place to lay your head. Put some dinner on the stove so when you got home you wouldn't know. I spent the whole damn day longing to hear what you'd never say, and I can't help but think. Sometimes I wonder if you even give a damn. If I cut my hair and lost some weight, gave you all I can. So just in case on the day I decide to leave, I'll take care of everything and be halfway out of town before the lights come on. Just so you don't have to miss me when I'm gone. Left my ring and a letter by the bed, and I hope you believed every word I said, 'cause I meant it. I pray that your life is easy and you don't look in another's eyes and see me and wonder what we could have been. Sometimes I wonder if you even give a damn. If I cut my hair or lost some weight, gave you all I can. So just in case on the day I decide to leave, I'll take care of everything, be halfway out of town before the lights come on. Just so you don't have to miss me when I'm gone. So don't worry about being alone. I left everything in its place at home, just so you don't have to miss me when I'm gone. Oh, and you won't even miss me when I'm gone. Thank you.
You have an angelic voice.
Thank you so much. I've got a little bit left from last night's festivities.
I have to tell you, wow, Matt wipes his eyes. But I mean, I literally, I know I said I got goosebumps before we were telling me, but
you.
I looked down and like my legs looked like chicken skin, my arms. I mean, the reality is that one, I think not only are your lyrics amazing, but sitting this close and getting to watch you play, you feel your music.
Oh, thank
like
you.
it's not that you're performing.
Yeah.
You are living
Thank
your
you.
music, and it's palpable. Like it's a
appreciate
palpable experience because it's like your eyes are closed and you're just it is just a natural expression. So Dad, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much
Yeah.
because he clearly recognized what you
Yeah.
were born to do.
Yeah,
you
they
are a
both
born
did.
performer.
And it's funny because like my dad was like, do it. And my mom was like, I mean, you sure as hell can. But
Yeah.
do you want to? And I was like, yeah, I think I do.
That's that courage
Yeah.
piece. That's that
Yeah.
step into it.
She was like, okay. And then as soon as she saw that I wanted to do it, she was like, okay, yes, do it. Yeah. So my parents were the driving
Amazing.
forces kind of behind me making that big leap.
Amazing.
And it's been a big leap.
And I'll
So,
tell you, while listening to you play, sitting here, obviously we're able to see people walking by, and it's been amazing watching people, and they're just like they literally stopping them in their tracks, and they're like, and you just see it's creating a smile on their face. So you have a voice that I think just permeates. It probably just permeates all ages, genders, races, etc. It's just you feel it.
Well, what I told my friends who own the yacht,
Mm-hmm.
Laura and Dan, it's you have an old soul,
Yeah.
and that's not a knock.
Yeah, I can
think,
totally see that.
my mom's always told me that.
Yeah.
And you paint such a picture, and I've been so fortunate. I've great musicians have been on the podcast, but I'm able to hang out with a lot of people, and I think one of the things that feeds me, even though I get emotional. It's just you paint such an amazing picture in your lyrics that it just blows my mind. I'm still curious. Your writing style outside of sleeping, and you write. I ask this of every musician who's been on this show. and you're way younger than me. Are you the type that I have this idea, I got to audio it, I got to put it in my notes, I write it? What's
Yeah.
your, like when you're writing a song, where does it start?
And
how
does
do
it start with words? And sometimes, because
Yeah.
I've heard musicians
Yeah.
also say it starts with the like they hear the sound
Yeah.
and then they put the words to
It's
it.
usually, have y'all seen A Star Is Born?
Yes.
Yes.
So the part where he goes, well, how do you hear it? That's how it happens to me a lot. So I will have, sometimes I just write down stuff on my phone or on paper, anywhere, I've got. A lot of times it's in my car is where I get most of my
Really?
ideas. Driving is a huge thing for me. It's, I don't know what it is. I mean, seeing a billboard, anything.
Right.
It's just like, you don't realize that songs are everywhere. And so a lot of times it's that. And so I'll do, if I hear it a certain way, I'll do an audio of it, or I'll just write it down and I can remember it. But sometimes, it's different. Sometimes I've got a lick in my head, or, and when I say that, I'm a very average guitar player, so those are rare. But sometimes it's just a random
I
phrase.
love how she underestimates her talents. I'm a very average,
I am.
no, I don't.
I would say though that I think like that moment where it comes in and
Yeah.
however you hear it, where it's a melody,
Yeah.
a sound, an actual, visual
Visual.
thing, you go, oh my gosh, I need
Yeah.
to write that feeling down. Are you the type that says, man, almost every experience, I'm going to draw something from it for a
Yeah.
song, or is it, you just let it come to you?
It's different. So a lot of times I'll have, like, Company Man. I thought,
Sound like a challenge.
I know, right? I know.
Yeah.
I immediately thought of, I was like, well, how can I make that catchy? And I was like, keep me company. Keep me
Man.
company, man. And then sometimes it's like that, and I just write around that.
Right.
Like with Miss Me When I'm Gone, I had this idea already, and I was sitting in my apartment, and I had just washed the dishes. So I just looked over and I was like, washed all the dishes in the sink. And then I just started from there. But they happen different almost every time. But a lot of times, I would say a lot of my ideas have stemmed from being in my car.
So we're celebrating many reasons. Your voice is
Well, thank
awesome.
you.
Your relationship with your family, your friends. Let's talk about New Money.
And she
Yeah.
also is a good sleeper.
Yeah, she is a
We've
good
heard that
sleeper.
she uses sleep as a tool. So I want
Yes.
people to hear that as
I
well.
love sleep.
That's true.
Uses sleep as a
She did
tool
say
for her
that.
creativity. I'm not putting words in her mouth.
No,
I'm
no,
just
no.
repeating them.
So we had talked about, so for our listeners and the visual, we'll definitely have links not only to Julianna's own personal social media, but maybe some Spotify stuff if we could do that, or something like that. Dan, we could do that. So this song, I love how you said it was like Fancy, because to me, the song Fancy was about a mom looking at the daughter going, well, somebody's got to make some money around
Yeah.
here.
Exactly. But it was
Get out there.
new money.
Yeah.
It was new money, and she ended up like leaning
So,
into it.
Yeah.
so I want you to play New Money,
Sure.
if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
And I want you to tell us kind of behind that story and,
Yeah.
and kind of how that came to be.
So the first verse kind of stemmed from how I told you my grandma would talk about new
Right,
money versus
right.
old money, you
Yep.
know, in the South, and
Yep.
that's a common theme.
Sure.
And so she used to talk. I've had that idea written in my phone or on a notepad somewhere. I can't remember where I got it from, but I mean for years. And then I was sitting at home on lunch break at my mom and dad's house, and I was like, I think I really want to write something about like new money and old money, like getting it from oil or what have you, anything
Right.
else. I didn't have any ideas beyond that. And then I started it that night, and I texted one of my guitar player friends. I was like, hey, can you send me a cool lick for this? Like, did you think?
Right.
I was like, maybe it'll help, like kind of get me started or get me in a groove. And he sent me something, and it definitely, we didn't end up using that one for the recording. It's different on the recording, but it helped me write the song.
Yeah.
And so the second verse, we changed in the studio, because the original second verse, I was kind of calling somebody out. And so I was like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to start off that way. And
Man, that would have been great.
it was like, it was funny.
Matthew Allard. Oh, no.
Yeah, it was funny, and it was clever, but I was like,
Yeah.
I don't want anybody to think I meant it negatively.
Right.
So
Sure.
we're just going to come up with a new verse. So yeah, we just came up with something new. My producer, Adam and Oder, and I from Yellow Dog Studios. And yeah, this is how it went. It's
All right.
called New Money.
Let's
Out
do it.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Jenny had a job and bills to pay.
got her mama's good looks and no sense to her name. She was working them fingers to the bone when a company man came along. He was knocking down her bedroom door. Now she's wearing black gold to the grocery store. She got new money, living high on the hog. New money, rich tricks to report all. Eating from the pot with a silver spoon. Traded the rags for some rhinestone shoes. Left rock bottom for a top shelf view. New money looks good on you. In the backseat of the yellow cab, there's a blonde bombshell with a brand new bag. She was selling her soul to the sons of the city when a three-piece suit fell for small town pretty. She's rolling around in a blacked out caddy, saying, "Give me some of your sugar, daddy." She got new money, living high on the hog. New money, rich tricks to report all. Eating from the pot with a silver spoon. Traded the rags for some rhinestone shoes. Left rock bottom for a high-rise view. New money looks good on you. Do 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 do. There's a girl from the south side of San Antonio. She made that bread on her own. Throws it all away, had a 9 to 5, but she's cashing it in Vegas tonight. She got new money, living high on the hog. New money, rich tricks to report all. New money, high heels and a platinum car. New money, living easy ain't been that hard. Eating from the pot with a silver spoon. Trailer rags for some Gucci shoes. Leaving rock bottom in a first class view. New money looks good on you. 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 Thank you.
Gosh.
Thanks.
I mean, like all three songs are so different,
Yes.
written by the same person.
Yes. Yes.
It's
Yeah.
just
And they're
amazing.
they're all just like, you want to listen to the whole
You
thing.
know, off
thank
camera, I'm going to ask about that second lyric. You know
Yeah.
that. Okay. Off camera, I'm going to ask about it. Julianna, thank you.
Thank y'all.
I know that whenever this podcast is released, you will already be probably halfway through your radio tour. You're going to be big. You got to make me one promise. This
Yeah.
is the only, I'm not going to ask you to write a song about me. Remember
Company
us.
Man. Yeah.
Remember us.
Yes, remember us to come back.
Of course. I would
Remember
love
us
to.
whenever, you know, I just see so many good things for you. I
Thank
know
you.
we run in some of the same circles, Dr. Ann, so I know I'll get to see
Yeah,
you.
I'm going to be calling
Yeah.
y'all for more sleep tips.
Yeah,
Well,
definitely.
That's what's
Definitely.
great about, again, what a blessing, right?
Yeah.
But thank you so much for taking time. I'm going to leave on this message. I'm a big believer, and when you get my age, you'll see this one day, that
Many years from now.
I read this amazing book called The Go-Giver, and this will let you know about me because you're probably curious, is that I spent the first part of my life just sacrificing. unfortunately, I sacrificed time with my then wife, right, which probably caused the divorce because I was so just driven, right? Then I spent the second part of my adult life just saving everything I could, trying to save my relationships, trying to save money. Now I'm into the phase of my life where I love serving. And the longer I've done this, the book is called The Go-Giver. It's an amazing book. The longer that I've done this in my life, I find like, I don't know if anybody's ever told you this, but that's what you do. Music to me is healing on so many levels. It's therapeutic. It's meditative. It's erotic. It's spiritual, and you really serve people. And I know that there's a piece of you that's out there with every one of those 3 different songs. You're giving of yourself, and so if nobody ever tells you this, thank you so much for serving. I think your sacrifice of yourself and putting yourself, being so vulnerable with your lyrics about interpersonal stuff, it really moves people, and I know it moves me. So I love you, and thank you for being here. I really do appreciate
Thank
it.
y'all for having me. It was so nice to meet you.
It was great meeting you.
Right.
And since Matt's not going to say it, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. When she
Right.
was describing how music comes to her, I was thinking, because I'm not creative and blessed like you, but I think about how I go to music when I am feeling things. And it feels like when you turn the radio on, all the songs that are like corresponding to that
Yes.
emotional state are like,
Totally
they
true.
must know that it's just like, but it's the part that I would say is that it seems like there's that circle of life there of like how music is coming to you is how people like myself are finding it.
Right.
And I would agree with Matt that it's a gift, and please keep on gifting us with.
I definitely won't
Beautiful.
stop.
And I love
If I
saying,
have anything to do with
and
it.
I love saying this, Julianna. Thank you for sleeping around with Dr. Ann and Matthew. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
For being
Anytime.
All right, appreciate it.